right, I think it's 5 o'clock. We'll call the Finance and Personnel meeting of Monday, June 17th to order. Before we start, I would like to acknowledge Virginia's passing and her commitment to Algoma. If we could have a moment of silence on her behalf. Thank you. Could you do the roll call, Aaron, please?
Kevin Schmidt.
Here.
John Ortlieb.
Here.
Scott Meverden.
Here.
Midge Swedberg.
Here.
Wayne Schmidt.
Here.
Casey Boer.
Here.
Lee Dashlet.
Here.
Amy Johnson.
Here.
Would you verify the meeting is in compliance with the open meetings law?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. I would be looking for a motion for the approval of or changes to the agenda.
I'll move for exception of the agenda as published.
A motion by Wayne, second by John. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. If everyone has had a chance to read the meeting minutes from May 21st,
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
motion by Kevin to accept,
Second.
second by John. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And then if everyone has had a chance to look at the bills,
Mr. Mayor, I got a couple questions.
okay?
I noticed on here there were tires for rescue and police, but we went to Pomp's Tire. Why didn't we stay local? We have 3 people that sell tires.
We did. So both of those, I believe, were all bought from, through the state contract through Siler Tire. The way it works is Pomps sells the tires and then they come in, the way the bill is, they come into Siler through the state contract into Siler Tire. So I wanna say Rory's, but I know Dave's for sure on the squad card. They're through the state contract and it's the way that they're getting put on here in town, but it's through the state contract.
And that was the same thing with the rescue, 603s through the state
Same
contract?
thing, that it's being done at Siler Tire.
Okay.
Is there a reason they don't go through Seminar to keep the business in Kewaunee County, please? Because they sell the state contract tires.
Same exact thing. So if, no matter where we buy them, the way the state contracts are set up, is we get billed directly for the tires.
Right, from
Through-
Pomp's though.
From Pomps.
So
So,
they could go to Seminars because they're in Kewaunee County, at least they're Kewaunee
so
County.
is Siler Tire.
Right, but you're getting a bill from Pomp's who's selling the tires to.
And now if I buy the tires from Seminars in Luxembourg, the state contract tires come from Pomps, we get the bill from Pomps, and then we get a bill for them for the installation.
Installation?
But Seminars.
So, but
sells
Siler's is a-
contract cost. Seminars sells the state tires also, because I get mine
Well, so does
from Algoma
Siler's.
Motors, and they buy them from Seminars, and Seminars bills Algoma Motors, and then Algoma Motors bills me. I try to keep it in the county so that I do my spot. They actually have a state contract in Seminars. I don't know if you guys do that.
It's something, I mean, we can look into it
It's
in
nice to
the
keep it in the
future.
county.
I know what you're
You
saying.
got a county vehicle, these are city vehicles.
Same thing, I buy state tires for the county vehicle from Seminars, because I keep it in the county, but Algoma Motors puts them on.
So
But-
Tyler's is doing the same thing.
But he's buying his tires from
From
Brown
Pomp's.
County.
Yeah.
We're not keeping it in Kewaunee County, which would be nice, to keep the business in our county versus Brown, so my question is.
Well, that's immaterial at this point. I guess I just question it because when you see Pomps, you're thinking that we're going to Green Bay and buying from Pomps rather than supporting our local businesses, and we do have 3 tire dealers in the city, so.
They're bought from Siler Tire.
So
But Pomps bills us.
The way the state contract, the way Siler works that out with the state contract.
So Siler's puts them on and,
Yeah.
okay.
So could you check with Seminar just to make sure
Yeah.
it works the same?
Yeah.
And then I had one other question.
Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor. On Sun badges for 486, how many badges did you get? Did you get
4 badges.
all new badges, or?
Yeah.
And did we put a different logo on, or what did we do?
No, it's all still the same. It was, these were actually ordered like last year and they finally came in, but, it's been, previous, practice that after the officer is, out of, off probation, been here a year, then they get one badge with their actual badge number on it. And if they wanted to get additional ones with their actual badge number on it, otherwise it just says Algoma, Wisconsin on it, so.
So these are with the badge number on, I take
Yes.
it? Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. That's all I had, Mr. Mayor.
I have one question.
Okay,
Reference to strikers, was that a vest or that you got, it says uniform at strikers in Minneapolis. But yet right above it, you got uniform shop for uniforms.
That there's, I guess I'm not sure exactly which.
The fire department gets their uniforms from the uniform shop in Green Bay. Strikers out of Minneapolis is who has
I know
all
where
of the police
Stryker
stuff.
is.
Yeah, I don't know that we've ever gone to the uniform shop for police department uniforms.
We do.
We do?
Yeah.
We do.
Okay. But
So-
that's typically who I've seen is we've been paying strikers kind of for the police side of the house and uniform shop for the fire department and EMS side.
The Strikers is, external vest carrier because the vest was bought through Strikers, so it's just.
And that's kind of what I thought, I just
Yeah.
wanted to verify
Yeah.
this. Because I know Stryker sells them, or uniform shop does, but they're not the same, it's
Right,
different.
so.
are there any more questions on the bills? And if not, I would look for a motion to approve them. Moved by John,
Second.
second by Wayne. A roll call, Aaron?
Swedberg,
Yes.
Ortlieb,
Yes.
Boer,
Yes.
Wayne Schmidt,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Dashlet,
Yes,
Kevin Schmidt,
Yes.
Meverden.
Yes.
Thank you. Conference attendance, David, chief?
We have the summer chief of police conference, will be in Green Bay, first week of August, second week of August there. But, when I went last spring or whatever, I, was issued a, voucher to pay for the conference costs this year, so basically other than me going there, the $275 cost has been waived for attending.
So quick question, is that over Shanty Days weekend?
It'd be during the week,
Week of, okay. Just remember the dates.
might be the week before,
No, it's during the week.
yeah, but it's before.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve the conference attendance.
Second?
Motion by Scott, second by Midge. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Is there anybody here for public comment tonight? Anybody in the audience for public comment? And a third ask, seeing none, we'll move on. Old business, the software, I'm not exactly sure which one wants to handle that.
All three of us.
Okay,
So there's a memo that was attached to everybody's packet. You can see the prices that we got back from Quantum for everything. There's some things that the phone bill looks a lot cheaper. It's about half the price, but if you look at the monthly service cost, that has gone up. It's still cheaper than what we currently pay AT&T, but it is cheaper. And the next probably big thing is the service. So the service contract to add everything to our oversight, help me out here, Jamie, what's the word I'm looking for downstairs, our server. Right now, we pay just to have a backup for our server. Ryan Hoffman takes care of that. Every day it gets backed up. Once a month, we get a bill for it. This is adding some antivirus and some different things to it that we don't currently have. This is one of the things that we get dinged on every year by our auditors because of our cybersecurity and issues that we comply. But it's coming down the pipeline that we will not be in compliance pretty soon. Every year our auditors, we have to fill out a form more or less saying that we don't have this and we don't have that, and we are aware of it. So this price for their service would include all of that. Every month they would have oversight to that. One of the things that we currently have now is, we pay approximately $5,000 a year for our Facebook, more or less backup, that backs up everything for Facebook. We would no longer have that. That bill would go away from a third party or an independent contract that the city has. We would end that if we would move to this direction. There's the internet, as far as email server, it would bring us up to speed. It would take care of a lot of the redundancy that we have with our emails. Right now, everybody has email on their phone or email on their computer. If you delete one, you still have to go into your other computer to delete that one. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. Jamie, do you have anything to, just kind of hitting a couple of the cliff notes?
I don't know that I have anything to add. I think we could field questions if you have any.
So the last time we met, you went through 3 different areas that we should consider,
Yep.
correct? That being said, without going through each one again, after comparing the 2 quotes, what is your recommendation?
So we're recommending switching over to Quantum for everything. The phone contract obviously is less upfront, a little bit more than FTS's quote monthly, but it's a little bit different type of phone service as well, which should work out fine for us. Email and IT services, we just figure if we're going with Quantum for one, go with Quantum for everything. FTS did not quote us anything for the IT services. That's not something that we asked Quantum to do. They just came in and looked at everything we had and are suggesting that, which we're not saying is a bad idea by any means. So our suggestion would be to go with Quantum for all 3 of these options that they're proposing.
Total price?
Total price
Including resource and that.
for everything?
Everything.
Grand total for like the capital items, which would be the email, the phones, and the software that we were looking at, is about $36,000. We're not including the IT services in that because that's kind of just an ongoing cost and not something that we would consider a capital expenditure. In regards to the cost and how we're gonna pay for everything, we think we found enough money in the general fund budget the way it is to just pull money from certain line items and use those for the capital purchases rather than financing any of this or decreasing any other capital items that are currently budgeted.
Well, what about this COVID money that we're sitting on? Does it, I mean, now I read all these other cities that are using their COVID money. Can we use our COVID money for something like this?
Our COVID money, Wayne, was all what the balance of, I wanna say it was around $97,000, was rolled into our capital outlay and used on infrastructure work in 2023.
So the COVID money is all gone?
Expended.
It was what, 300,000,
Yeah,
if I remember
so
correctly?
we could use it on different portions of the road, and instead of continuing to pass it on and what are we gonna use it for and how are we gonna use it, we expended it either in late 23 and 24 on 23's work on Division Street.
Okay.
So the cost up front is $36,000,
If you would go with every option we're proposing, yes.
Yes.
and that's what you recommend.
Correct.
Okay, and then what is the difference in monthly cost? What we got now and what the bid is for Quantum? Is
For
it more, less?
for email, it's an
No,
overall like,
Altogether.
well, I don't have it like added up that way.
Oh, okay.
Because it'd be a monthly fee for
Yes.
for the service.
And we pay a monthly fee now. What I'm trying to see is, are we the same?
Oh, no.
Is it less
It's-
monthly fee? Is it more monthly
It's
fee?
way more, for a monthly fee. I think it's about $600 more a month from what we're currently paying now.
But I don't know if he's looking at every
Well-
single thing, or you're talking about this.
I'm just talking about, you're talking about the server,
No, I'm talking about everything.
well, everything.
Everything that you wanna do, what is this gonna cost us more? And what are we getting for that?
That's a hard question to answer because it's not, like, we don't pay one vendor $1 amount. Like, the software program is an annual fee that we pay after we purchase it. That annual fee is dropping in half or more
From our current,
from our current provider.
okay, so we're gaining there.
We're gaining there. We're gaining on the phones. Like, and if you looked in your packet, you have, on the phones and the software, you have like a payback calculation. So for the software, we were looking at a payback time of just a little over 3 years. The phones are a payback time of a little over 5 years. The email, currently we have a very inexpensive email that we run, so that's an added cost. $10,000 up front, $2,800 a year thereafter. So that's an added cost.
So what are we paying now? Rather than the 2,800, are we paying, you said we're paying less?
Well, we pay the
We pay
365.
Hostway and we pay 365.
It's maybe double,
Yeah.
Okay,
maybe double.
that puts me in the ballpark. Right?
Yeah. And then phones, well, we talked about that. The managed IT services, that's a hard one to gauge because you're not looking at apples to apples. Right now, we're paying $200 for backing up our server per month. But then we pay a variety of other, like malware, things like that, correct?
We pay malware, we pay for every service call, we pay for updates on like the body cams. If something goes wrong at the marina and one of those cameras has to be reset, I know Casey worked with Quantum this last time, but previously we would have to call and we'd have a service call on that, and we would pay for the equipment and we would pay for the service labor on it as well.
So the managed IT service contract includes service as long as it's a fairly routine type thing or a question where our passwords need to be updated or, I don't know, a variety of things. But if we need IT service, it's included in that monthly fee versus us getting, who knows, a bill for $200 to $800 depending on how much time the current provider spends fixing. So it's kind of a easier way to budget because you know what you're gonna pay
Yeah,
per
you know what
month.
your cost is
Yeah.
every single month. You're not guessing at anything.
Right,
So throw those all together,
yeah.
Jamie, and say, are we ahead or well behind? We're saving here and we're saving here and we're more expensive there and we're a little more
I don't think you can look at it strictly as financial either.
It's gonna be more expensive every month, but you're also getting that much more. We're getting us to where we should be. So I wouldn't say we're behind or we're, yes, it's gonna cost more than where we currently are today.
Does your IT cover like police stuff, like if net motion goes down, you can call and get that figured out, or swimming, is that all included, or is that something that pays separate?
That would be built in, so like, in that price for their service, it would be built in, for their computers downstairs as well.
This one, too.
Yep,
Body cams Yeah.
Voicemail
with the
Yes,
phone.
that you can
With-
change and it actually pertains to the person that's answering the phone?
correct,
Well, that's big and huge.
yeah.
That alone.
And caller ID.
I'm still getting Wiswell.
I have them answer the phones for me.
Yeah. So you said this would come out of capital outlay or?
No, well,
No?
so the capital portion of it, we can find the money in the general fund,
Okay.
okay? We would then put it into the 450 fund for these capital projects. So, yes, your question, it will come out of the capital
Yeah.
outlay,
Yeah.
but we're not scratching anything or cutting anything in
Okay.
what's consistently in the capital outlay. Does that make sense?
We're not giving up something. We're not robbing from Peter to pay
That is
Paul.
correct.
Or borrowing it.
Or borrowing it for this.
Okay.
So what do you need from us?
A motion to say
Yes or no?
yes or no, move forward.
Well, if you guys like it, and we're relying on you, and this is what you'd like to use, and the cost doesn't sound like it's extravagant, that I would move that we purchase these systems.
We have a motion from John
Second.
and a second from Casey. Any more discussion?
I think it's just a key note, one of the things that, so everybody knows, is we will move, right after city council with Quantum to get the ball rolling on all of their stuff. The workhorse stuff, we will start to work with them, but probably looking to make that change, if we're early enough, pending on their workload, that we would make this change kind of the end of December first into January, that we would start January 1, 2025 on workhorse. So, 2 months, how is workhorse? We don't know yet. But until we get approval from council, we can't call them and say, put us on the books either.
Yeah.
So,
I would think you'd wanna start about November first or 15th. If
It-
it's
it-
installed, so at January 1, you're up and running.
Correct.
Well, I think
and-
that's the plan, is being up and running on January one, but that
Yes.
may not, like, Aaron and I may already be doing work in it in August to get it to that point.
correct. Yep.
So,
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Do a roll.
Oh, roll call,
Can
I'm
I
sorry.
just make sure I have this motion kind of worded correctly? Hold on one second. Okay, so Ortlieb is motioning, seconded by Boer, to move forward with Quantum and Workhorse as proposed in the memo, proposing upgrades to the phone, email, managed IT services, and municipal software. Okay? Does that work, both of you? Okay, and then a roll call. Meverden,
Yes.
Wayne Schmidt,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Dashlet,
Yes.
Boer,
Yes.
Swedberg,
Yes.
Kevin Schmidt,
Yes.
Ortlieb.
I hope I don't get any more emails that saying, hey, I'm in a meeting, can you help me please?
Hey, it's Mayor Lautenbach. How can I help you?
Yes.
One this morning.
Right.
Aaron needed some help this morning, some financial help.
Wow,
Just send
Gift
gift
cards.
cards, gift cards.
gift cards will work.
Yeah.
Gift cards will work. All right, thank you. I see no new business. If you have any agenda items for the next meeting, please get them to Aaron or Matt in a timely manner. Next meeting date looks to be July 16th, 2024, moved to 5:30.
Jamie and I have a conference or classes that whole week, and we're
Okay.
here, but we don't get out of those classes until like 5 o'clock on the dot. So would it be okay to move it to 5:30?
Any issues? I don't see any. 5:30 it is.
California, so I'll be calling in.
And then I would be looking for a motion to go into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute 19.85, section 1, subsection C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility for the chief of police.
So move.
Motion by Scott,
Second.
second by John. All in favor? Roll call, please.
Kevin Schmidt,
Yes.
Meverden,
Yes.
Swedberg,
Yes.
Wayne Schmidt,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Boer,
Yes.
Ortlieb,
Yes.
Dashlet.
Yes.
Get you in a little bit.
See you later, guys. Thanks.
motion?
Go ahead, Scott.
I might second, I'll second. You make it. You wrote it down,
I got I didn't write this one down, I'm going
I
strictly
have it
off
written
my
down
memory.
if you want it.
You wanna read it off Aaron's notes?
I think I got it.
I guess if we are ready, we are looking for an action from our closed session.
I'll make a motion to move forward with allowing Chief of Police to attend the RNC in Milwaukee as discussed during closed session. Under conference, as a conference.
Or whatever criteria we're gonna.
So, motion to approve sending Chief Allen to the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee, as requested in closed session, King, what was discussed in closed session, as well as for wages reimbursements.
Correct.
Second.
Second by Wayne. Roll call for that?
Swedberg,
Yes.
Kevin Schmidt,
Yes.
Dashlet,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Meverden,
Yes.
Wayne Schmidt,
Yes.
Boer,
Yes.
Ortlieb.
Yes.
Best part is, he's a Democrat.
Thank you for
Good luck.
writing that down so well, Aaron.
That was a good
Hey,
job,
the
Scott.
Best
It
part
really
is you're a
was.
Democrat.
I almost got there. Almost got it
And
all.
I would be looking
You'll
for
be
a,
converted by the time you come back.
Amazing what money can do.
I'll make a motion to, are we there yet?
yeah, we're there. Motion to adjourn
Motion to adjourn, that's what I meant.
by Scott,
Second.
second by Wayne. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And we will take a short 5-minute break so the ladies can get ready for the next meeting.
Yes, we have to get on Zoom here, and we're gonna get some other people, from Commonwealth.
Yeah, sorry you won't be able to see yours, but you'll see Tyler from
Yeah.
Commonwealth.
We'll be right back with it.
Or Steve and Nancy. Just getting here in time for dinner.
They're coming for dinner.
Oh,
It's,
okay.
they'll be staying with me until the 7th of July for sure, and then I don't know where they're going after that.
Well, probably up the GF relation, that's where.
Well, they're gonna, no, they're gonna hang around for a while, so that I think they're gonna move up to Lori's house for a while. My in-laws coming back in, so I think they're gonna go with Lori, and then, I don't know, they'll be here obviously for the wedding and the 20th.
Yes.
Starts wedding,
Yeah, Gary's son, Austin.
is that the 20th, 25th?
25th, I think it is.
Okay.
Because we got something going on, we can't go. So I said, that's my regrets.
Okay, so then, I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's on our
I'm not sure whether.
When they going back? August?
Yeah, Steve has an appointment on the first of July, and then they're heading forth and getting to
Yeah,
us.
Oh, so they're,
Nancy's sister.
yeah, they're gonna take 3 days, like,
absolutely.
Yeah, they're taking 3 days.
I don't push it, you can push it 2 days, but
Yeah. So they're gonna, yeah, so they'll be in Cross, and then they'll drive up Friday for the week there.
Right, exactly. Yep.
Watch Terminator.
hey, Aaron, is the planning commission aware of this part of the meeting? Cause I don't think your dad is, I think I misinformed him, I didn't see the bottom part of this. Your dad, I don't think realized that.
I believe he
Yeah.
is, cause I talked to him today and I told him
Oh,
that,
does he know
yeah,
about it?
I think
Okay.
that he does.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought we said the next step is this, yeah, remember, because, oh, you weren't here, but Marty said, oh, we got some time to think on this, and I'm like,
No, the
you have on you have till Monday.
Yes.
But if my father doesn't listen to me.
He shot.
Yeah, and just like, well, for sure, Hunter, are you gonna be able to, stand in those things? No, I'm not, it's like looking in the mirror.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't.
Well, just don't drive by my house, 'cause chances are I'm shirtless.
Get hot.
Most of the time I'm in the backyard, but once in a while,
You out in the front?
Playing in the playground or what?
not that far backyard.
Recording in progress.
Something like that too.
Tyler should be getting on. Okay. I think it might just be Tyler.
Here he is.
Tyler, is there anybody else joining besides you?
That'll be just me.
Okay, perfect, then we should be ready to go.
All right, then we will call the special common council meeting of Monday, June 17th to order. Roll call, Aaron.
Amy Johnson,
Here,
Lee Dashlet,
Here.
Casey Boer,
Here,
Wayne Schmidt,
Here.
Midge Swedberg,
Here,
Scott Meverden,
Here.
John Ortlieb,
Here,
Kevin Schmidt.
Here,
Would you verify the meeting in compliance with the open meetings law?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. I would be looking for a motion for approval of or changes to the order of the agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Scott,
second.
second by Midge. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Seeing no old business, we'll move right into the new business. Business license renewals. Aaron, do you want to handle that?
Sure. So like I talked about at the last meeting when we went through the business license renewals, we have 2 applicants that didn't get their paperwork in on time, so they paid the extra fee to have a special meeting, that kind of thing. And in accordance with Wisconsin state statutes, we did have to publish that we were having this meeting tonight. So those 2 looking for renewal is Lori's Happy Trails Pub at 1905 Cedar Corners Road for their Class B beer and liquor license. Also for their cigarette and tobacco license and amusement license. And the other one is the renewal of the Class A beer and Class A liquor license for Family Dollar Stores of Wisconsin up at Family Dollar. Just renewals, nothing has changed. All their backgrounds checked out. Everything should be good to go.
And you need a motion to approve these?
Yep.
Moved by John,
second.
second by Casey. Roll call.
Ortlieb,
yes.
Kevin Schmidt,
yes.
Swedberg,
Yes,
Boer,
Yes.
Dashlet,
Yes.
Johnson,
yes.
Wayne Schmidt,
Yes.
Meverden.
Yes.
Thank you. And then the Planning Commission Plan Development for Portside Lofts. Probably easiest to follow if you, or maybe start from the beginning and go on, or do you want me to lead into it?
Go ahead.
So obviously, everybody's probably aware of the meetings we had recently. We have a motion on the floor tonight, okaying all the variances of the development. The motion also states that they would like more parking in the development. So I believe tonight we are here to address that motion and what happened at last night's meeting.
Last week's meeting.
Last week's meeting, sorry. Any conversation, questions, comments, or do you have anything to add, Matt?
I'll just maybe add, so this project has been worked on through the RDA, the whole process, and the RDA and Commonwealth have come to an agreement with a plan. Obviously, the plan goes over the setbacks of what our R4 zoning allows. With that being said, this plan was brought to the Plan Commission, and the motion came out of the Plan Commission to move it to the City Council with their recommendation to add a couple additional trees to the project, and as long as they provide at least 65 parking stalls. Their plan only calls out for 49 parking stalls, but that was the motion that the Plan Commission set forth for the council to act on.
Can you remind me again, what's the ratio with the 69? Is that like, cause the.
65.
65, okay, so the original ratio he was talking about was 1.225, and it's most commonly 1.6 between the parking lots and the bedrooms, or however that's worked. So what does that bring us up to?
1.625 with the 65 parking stalls. That gets us to the minimum of the kind of the standard recommendation. They have a calculation out there. I've never seen it. I guess to be honest, I've never went looking for it. But there's a calculation out there for units and what you should have for parking. That gets us to the minimum of their standard.
I probably should have read the motion. Should I do that? If everybody
More than
familiar with the
welcome to read the
motion?
motion that
Yeah.
Mayor,
passed.
Yeah,
at the
Mayor
I-
Lautenbach,
Yes.
don't read it off of those minutes,
Um,
because I printed those packets before we talked about.
I will leave that out.
Thank you.
You bet. So after discussion wrapped up, Marty Olenichek motioned and seconded by Amy Johnson to recommend to council the Plan Development Group Portside Lofts LLC plan subject to a minimum of 65 off-street parking stalls being added and subject to additional street trees being added to Fifth Street and Steel Street. And that was the motion brought here tonight.
What, are we open for discussion, or what are we doing right now?
Sure, yes.
Okay. When I read those minutes, the biggest concern was the parking, which I agree with. Parking is gonna be huge down there. Did Commonwealth, everything I read, they didn't seem like they could afford to put additional parking spaces. That was the big thing I got from them. This thing is just, the cost is just driving them crazy. So what did they say about the 65?
they're willing to work with the city to get to the 65 parking stalls without any financial contribution.
How do you work with the city to get to the 65 without any financial contribution?
Because what they're willing to do, and Tyler's on from Commonwealth as well, what they're willing, and me and the mayor had another conversation with Tyler today and their design team, okay? Pervious and non-pervious pavement to get across the hurdle to where they can put more blacktop to add more parking, okay? Then on the west side of the alley, there's insurance issues with their insurance company of what they can add over there and what they can't. That messes or changes their premiums is another issue, okay? So to where they got to get there to today, their prices are way higher than what they want. So they're in favor of working to get the additional parking. They're not in favor of financially coming to the table. They're asking, is the city willing to come to the table?
Well, I don't quite understand, if you're going to increase parking, why is the insurance having an issue with this? Tyler, is that his name?
Yep.
Why is the insurance having an issue with additional parking spaces?
Yep, so the lot to the west is in a floodplain. That was the main reason for changing course midstream here. The original proposal had townhome units in there. Simply put, the land can't be developed. And so whether it's a parking lot, whether it's housing, it's ultimately a structure that would need to be insured. And so with that, it's in a floodplain, and that creates a premium in the insurance market to be insuring matters that are in a floodplain.
But it's not a structure.
Yeah, it's not a structure, it's a parking lot.
But you're building
It's
a
still
parking
a paved area that would need to be insured.
Well, insured for what? Liability of the cars parked there?
Correct. And someone could slip and fall in the ice. I mean, it's land that's owned by us. We have to have insurance on it.
Well, anybody can slip and fall on any of your property, but I don't quite understand why this is gonna be such a stumbling block for you to develop that parking lot. I mean, when I looked at the plans and we looked at them at the RDA, that question came up about the parking. That was a big headache about parking. If you're gonna have all these units, and most people nowadays have 2 cars, I don't care what you say, where are you gonna park these vehicles? Your underground parking is not gonna absorb this,
No, there's 41 stalls
underground.
at grade, yes,
At
under the
grade,
building.
Under building.
How many
It-
units are there?
40,
So 40 units.
40 units.
stalls.
and 41 parking stalls.
I believe there are 81 bedrooms.
But there's no auxiliary parking other than this little parking lot I think you draw. Correct, there's like 10 stalls outside.
9
9, yes,
or 8.
9
8.
outside stalls and then 40 underneath, and that's,
yes,
so they only can have 1 car. Correct.
yes.
Per unit, not per bedroom.
Right, per unit.
I mean, I'd be concerned that the overflow all of a sudden is going over to Denny's lot. And is Denny's gonna sit back and say, well, no problem, you can park in my lot, I don't have a problem with that.
No, they're gonna come in here.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's not gonna
even
happen.
when there's on-street parking like there is currently today, that's a problem because you can drive down there at noon today and without any buildings, any houses, anything there's people parked on both sides of the street using the grocery store.
I have a question, and this was brought up at the meeting last week on Thursday. Correct me if I'm wrong, but when we did our diligence on upgrading all of the infrastructure, both on that side of the block and in between Denny's and whatnot, we took into consideration that northwest parcel, Tyler, that corner was going to be, it's gonna have a couple townhomes, garages, whatnot, so there's going to be a lot of, runoff per se. You know, you understand what I'm saying? The difference between there being facilities, buildings, garages, and a couple of driveways there versus a flat paved, I'm envisioning a full parking lot like down by the marina where you have curbing, you can actually just drive up. From an infrastructure standpoint, did we do our due diligence? We sized that all correctly. Did we or did we not? Can our infrastructure handle the runoff,
The stormwater?
the stormwater?
Yes, our stormwater can handle it. It's how you pre-treat it before it gets to our storm.
So do we pre-treat?
Because you're making now so much non-pervious on everything on the east side of the block, right? That's all gonna be a building, the whole east side of that whole block. The east side from the alley is all gonna be a building, okay? You don't have any pervious, so there's a calculation to stormwater of how they have to meet their DNR quotas to get permitted, how they treat that before it goes into our storm drain.
So every parking lot has that
Yes,
in the city?
yes. Well, after you get to such a, it goes by the size that you're developing. Once you break that plane of size you're developing, then you have to have a stormwater management plan.
Because when Bellin built theirs, all their stormwater runs
They
into
built that retention
a
pond.
retention pond.
That is correct.
And that suffices.
That does for them.
So the question I had was kind of a two-parter. The infrastructure can handle it, and I think it was brought up at that meeting. And Tyler, I think it was brought up. Matt might have said it. Everybody that was both in the audience, on the RDA, sitting here right now, and part of the planning commission, parking was the issue. Is it strictly a cost issue? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. If you take cost out of it, Tyler, can we pave that whole thing if cost was not an issue?
Well, it's twofold. I mean, the cost to construct and then the insurance premium are an added cost as well. So it's kind of twofold there. And, you know, for example, say it was $50,000 to pave that whole area. If someone came out of the blue, say we have $50,000 to pave that whole area, there's still the issue there that lies of the insurance premium. So it's both things working against it, of cost and then the insurance front.
Okay. And at that meeting, and from going back on the RDA, we had originally sketched whatever it was, 16, 17 spots that were adjoined to that alleyway. That was just over the tipping point of having to install a upflow filter. Yeah, upflow, uplift. I was gonna say, yeah, upflow filter. If you took one, I mean, how close was that to the edge? Was it one or two spots? I mean, that was 20 by 156 or something. Yeah. I mean, how many square feet over were we?
So I don't have that figure exactly. That said, you know, as Matt alluded to, we had a really good call this morning with Matt Mayer and our design team, specifically on the civil side, who does all these counts and submits them to the DNR. And we kind of talked about an alternative design. And we think there's a path there where we could utilize the existing grass as kind of that treatment system that Matt alluded to, where the water needs to be treated before it runs off. And so based on the rough calcs that they ran, they think that that would work. And so with that, I mean, it would omit the need for that, you know, $35,000 system.
So we could potentially add those spots, not have to do the filter. So now that brings down the total aggregated adder to 50 grand?
55, 60, yeah, something in there.
So basically, we're talking about a multi-million project that we're,
But you still only have 65 parking spots.
That would add an additional, that gets you to 65.
that gets us, yeah.
Yep.
So we're
But
talking
other-
about a multi-million-dollar project and we're hung up on 50, 60 grand.
Can I add something before you go down that, finish that road? What about the second upflow filter then? Could that be eliminated? The one that's in the 8-stall parking area? Or in the alley behind that, I believe. There's 2 of them, correct?
But so our ability to omit that second one is because we have the grass there that we can use as the filtration system. Because that east side of the block is being completely developed, there's really nothing there that's.
Okay, I didn't know if you could road it that way.
That could treat the
Yep.
water.
Gotcha. Thank you.
And we didn't talk to this morning, Tyler, but I'm assuming that second one is also having to count for all the melt off on the inside of the inside. All your water is going to that one from the whole 41 units, parking units as well.
I would have to defer to Brian there, but I mean, obviously that would be factored into their count, that if that second system is omitted,
Okay.
then, you know, it's gonna work. They're gonna have to adjust the grading, but it would factor in the snow runoff as well.
Sorry, Scott, you can continue. I just didn't know if that would,
I just wanted to know if the infrastructure could handle it. I mean, really what we're talking about here is a cost. Is putting the additional 17 spots, the partial, I mean, is that not, is it just because paving the whole thing versus only paving that many spots? Your insurance is not quite as steep? How does that work?
Yeah, because it all relates to how it's contiguous with the alley and that entire area is not being resurfaced, if you will. Because it's only that strip that's adjacent to the alley versus the entire amount, because the main concern on that floodplain is that northwest corner. I mean, that's the lowest point of that. So, I mean, that's the whole reason to stay out of there.
And I'm sure you guys are working with the engineers and the people that are figuring out what, if the grass substrate is enough to filter it. I guess, are we at the maximum? I mean, take costs off the table here for just a moment. Is that 20 by 156 and then however many square feet we have of grass, there's a calculation that has to be there. Could we make it 30 by 156, 25 by 156? What is that equilibrium point of being enough of a filter? That's what I would be very curious to know. Then we can talk about cost.
The valid question, it always relates to how it's regraded. They're gonna have to rework the grading there, and then it's as fine-tuned as the DNR needs to know the seed. Right now, Snyder was looking at Kentucky bluegrass because it's a little bit thicker than standard grass, and right now they're looking at 3 to 6 inches of how long the grass needs to be. I mean, it's one of those things that DNR is very specific on, but I mean, obviously we could have them run the calcs on that.
Would it help or hinder if you added a couple of butterfly gardens? I say that facetiously, but have some wild plot. I mean, is that a better filter? I don't know. Just a thought.
Or a tree to suck up the water.
Tree.
Let's be clear. The planning commission is saying we want 65 parking stalls.
Minimum.
No less than 65.
No less.
Minimum.
Should actually, in my opinion, should be about 75, but anyway. They're saying, you have a conversation with them today, they're saying, okay, we're in favor of that, but we're not gonna pick up the cost for that.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're saying if we want additional parking, which is gonna benefit them, the city should pay for that,
That is correct.
instead of the developer,
That is correct.
who is gonna generate the income off of this, correct?
That is correct.
And we did a TIF, right? So now we should stick in another X amount of dollars to help them with their project.
If we're gonna move it forward, that is, you are,
Well, because I'm reading in here where they made the statement that if they, as far as additional dollars to be put in the parking, it was not feasible and they would have to walk away.
Yep.
That's what they're saying.
that's what they're saying.
So they won't increase their rent to recoup these building costs for these 20-some stalls in blue here? That's what we're talking about.
Those stalls in blue were sent to the state for approval as an alternate.
And how much is it for just this blue?
It was 97,000, but then there was a upflow filter that was in there that could now be removed. That's about a $35,000
So about 60
D down, yeah.
They could recoup this in their rent, so they income based.
Tyler, can you recoup, we talked about this, I don't know what your answer was, but, one of the council members is asking a question. Is this not, aren't you able to recoup this in your rent?
No, so at the end of the day, this is workforce housing, it's affordable housing, so we can't just arbitrarily increase our rent by an absurd amount to offset what this additional parking would be. The way that the structure of these deals work is different than that of a market rate complex where the developer surely relies on the cash flow from the asset. The asset does not cash flow much at all. It barely cash flows because one, our rents are lower. We have the same operating expenses, so our bottom line is nominal. And then with that, we take that remaining NOI and add as much debt as we possibly can in the project. The project is financed primarily through the low-income housing tax credits, which we then sell to an investor. That only factors about 65 to 70% of the total development costs. With that, we have to then offset as much as we possibly can with remaining debt. And so with that, the bottom line is now. So then the question is, okay, well, how does Commonwealth operate? How do they keep their lights on? We are incentivized to do these deals and continue to own real estate through this low-income housing tax credit program through a developer fee. The developer fee is paid in 4 installments. 1, when the project breaks ground. 2, when the project is officially complete and ready for occupancy. 3, when the asset is stabilized, meaning it's at 90% occupancy for 90 days. And then the 4th is once we are signed off with the state and the IRS. It's called 8609. After those 4 tranches, Commonwealth is not making any more developer fee on the project.
Well, who's
So
generating?
the thought process of continue to raise rents, it doesn't work for us, 1, and 2, it completely contradicts what we're trying to do here is put high-quality, affordable units online.
There is an alley behind this thing, right?
Yeah,
Could we put parking in the alley?
that's what this would be. This would be additional parking on the west side of the alley.
Okay, on the west, but how about in the alley? How about if we took the alley out, except for those first few homes and made it parking?
You gotta get in there.
You gotta be able to get in, it's the in and out the driveway to get in underneath the building.
Cause they don't have it coming off of Fifth Street, they have it coming off the avenue, or get strong, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's coming off of Steve.
Now, if they changed it, no, you still wouldn't have enough space, so the alley's
Kind
not
of
wide
at a
enough to
standstill
park.
here.
You think?
Right. I mean, you're at a standstill because the only way you're gonna get the parking is if the city's gonna kick in the dollars.
Yes.
Is
So
what
if
you're
I
telling
build
me.
a building,
Mhm.
I wanna build an apartment complex up by the apartments, I wanna build another apartment. You guys are gonna fund my parking lot too then, because I wanna build this new building and I didn't take my cost and put it in my overall project?
Well, is yours a subsidized
Well,
rent or not?
any of them can be income based. But why should the city have to kick in? This is their whole project. They should put that in their amounts. I'm not in favor if we have to kick money in. We gave them enough, we gave them the land and everything else to build on, the TIF district. And parking stalls, I agree, we need stalls. You can't just park in the road.
Yeah, and even as it sits, I
Just
mean,
to add context as to kind of the merit behind Commonwealth's request and our inability to pay for the additional parking, stems from the environmental condition that the site possesses, which we were not aware of. With the redevelopment project, contaminated soil was brought in, and ended up costing upwards of $160,000 to get that cleaned up and approved through the DNR. So that was an unforeseen cost. Had that not been an issue, then obviously we wouldn't be sitting here going back and forth over $60,000 worth of parking, because we still would have been to $100,000.
Tyler, can you break down that $168,000 for me? Because you would have had to have done some of that soil testing anyway, regardless of what you found. And I never saw you take an ounce of dirt off of there, so I'm curious what the $168,000 was for.
Because all testing that was done on the site, the requirement there is that we leave the site as we found it. The last thing we want to do is leave a bunch of holes and things like that and start to make the site look terrible. With that, I mean, it's not 2 invoices that equate to that. There's a host of things, but high-level analysis, it was a phase 1, which identified RECs, RACs is what they're referred to, recommended environmental contaminants. So then once you have a phase 1 with RECs identified, you transition to a phase 2. The phase 2 is supposed to do additional exploratory due diligence on the site and hopefully clear matters up. This did not. It was inconclusive and there were still concerns. So then there was supplemental phase 2 drillings. And then from there, they continue to hone in on the area of contaminants. We have a very precise diagram of the 2 areas that are flashing hot right now. And then with that, it's a bunch of additional documentation and reporting and design that has gone to the DNR for approval. So I have all those invoices. I'm happy to share them with you guys. And this isn't a figure I wouldn't make this up. It's not something.
And I wasn't insinuating that. I'm wondering though, what did you do to mitigate the situation? You found a hot spot. You just kept testing it until it went away?
Yeah, how did you cure the issue then?
Correct.
There's the hot spots.
Yep, so with that, we now will have a vapor barrier system in the development. So once the foundation's laid, and it's a 3 or 4 layer system that goes in to ultimately protect our tenants and ensure that no bad vapors are coming in.
Okay.
The vapor barrier system it was designed by Fairgram Environmental Consultants, as approved by a professional radon contractor in the state, and was then shared with the DNR for approval. The last thing we want to do is obviously have harmful air in our apartment complex for our tenants.
Okay, thank you.
How many ADA units do we have?
8.
8?
8.
And there's 2 handicap parking spots.
Correct, we had a big
So,
conversation on that.
65 is too few, plus it costs us more. We have 8 ADA places, but only spots for 2 handicap parking spots, and they're not assigned. We have an issue with parking downtown as it is, and we're going to burden the downtown with more parking issues is my concern. What happens if they walk? What are our options? What are the next steps?
Go back to the drawing board.
Start over.
Start over.
How many years have we had in this now?
To start the count, to make the 5 years for the community development block grant.
Yeah.
That starts when the grass becomes green, so about 18 months.
Okay. But at the end of 5 years, you can do what you want with it.
That is correct.
Okay.
Were they willing to give up units, like units on?
They can't give up units as part of the WIDA
So
submittal.
they have to have this
Yep.
many units.
Yep.
They can't even do that option.
Yep.
Or they have to have like a community area in the center. They couldn't put units there and then move some out and make parking on Steel Street. Just looking at these plans.
Yeah, we got 8.
Most apartment complexes don't have community centers and all the special kitchen for the whole thing.
So shrink the building?
You know, like get rid of
Yeah,
that center
I'm
part, and I'm just looking at it on my phone. And maybe put more units in there and try to shrink it on the sides to get some parking on the sides.
Gotcha.
Newer construction does have community centers and fitness centers. That's
Do
the
they?
draw to bringing them in.
Okay.
But then it's kind of like an all-inclusive. We're lucky they didn't put a restaurant in there.
But they don't have common entry, they have like common entries where better apartments have single doors to get in each apartment where they're like condos. To me, that's more beneficial for renting. That's like I have by our complex. We can't keep them empty. They're just, people like that. They don't like coming in that common door and sharing this hallway with 4 other people and you can hear the noise. And that looks like what they're doing is the common entries.
Do we have confirmation that adding those spots will work, Tyler, as far as from the grass being, are we positive that we can get rid of that lift filter, that out filter?
Yeah.
Are we still
Pretty
working?
confident. Granted, they had ran some back of the envelope calcs between our 9:30 call and trying to get us some answer here, but they feel pretty confident that they can. It's gonna be subject to more work, but I trust their word there.
Kind of goes back to the question I proposed earlier. Is that the max? Because then it's an extenuation of the alley. Instead of being 20 by 150, could it be 25, 30?
25 doesn't get you any more parking stalls, so
No.
you'd have to go to,
45, 50?
Double deep and then you gotta get away to
but
get
you
your
still
car
gotta
out.
get a way to get there.
I'm just asking
Yeah,
the
no.
question. What is the threshold?
I don't have that tipping point for you. It's all kind of a circular function to the DNR in terms of the calcs and things like that.
Can we find that out?
Yep.
But they're not willing to pay for it.
I understand that. I mean, he went through I believe they had $45,000 budgeted, they had unforeseen circumstances, I get it. I'm not happy, I've said that several times.
Could the city provide the extra parking and charge the tenants a permit to park there? That way we would get the 65 spots.
We can't take ownership of that property.
Then we'd be liable for that too.
Yeah,
Well, so that would come under all of our
We-
city liability.
we
I'm not
can't
worried
take
about that.
ownership.
that wouldn't
No.
work. 'cause
I've
we-
asked if we could
we
have.
can't
Yeah,
take
no, we
ownership.
can't.
And that was one of the questions I had, and I had asked last Thursday, is whether or not we could acquire or take back that parcel. And I seem to remember at one of the RDA meetings early on when this was first discovered, with the flood plain being an issue, I thought that was an option.
I thought they said that.
No, it was a question that the RDA proposed. We took that back to WIDA, and they said no, because the original submission entailed all of those lots. So it ultimately needs to remain that way.
Okay.
Just kind of how they work, and that they don't want much changing from their initial submission.
Do we have any numbers on, like what it would be for the tax roll? So if we don't do this and we wait another 2 or 3 years, I mean, how much is the city, do we have an idea of how much we'd be losing out versus putting in the 50 or 60,000? Do we have any kind of numbers that way?
We're not adding anything to the tax roll by adding additional parking.
No, I just meant leaving it sit empty for,
It-
you know, like how much
As
could
opposed to
we
having
be
the building.
collecting, having a building done versus,
At the beginning, we wouldn't gain money either because of the TIF, correct? If that
Okay.
answers your question. We would gain money faster, the faster we get it put up.
Were they the only one that wanted to develop on this lot, or were there other people interested?
The other developer that brought a or responded to the RFP didn't have any parking, and that was, I think, the reason the RDA went with Commonwealth.
One of the deciding factors,
One of them,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Again, at the end of the day,
But
I think everybody knows this isn't gonna fly without additional parking.
at the end of the day, they don't have parking stalls either, man. That's why you selected them.
Yes.
If the investment that would be made by the city were to go to adequately provide parking, I think it'd be worth the consideration, but even at this 65 as it sits, I don't think it makes sense long-term to do it. In fact, I think it would be more problematic. And there was a question about would it cause issues with people wanting to rent? And the answer was because of the housing shortage, it wouldn't be an issue, but what's 10 years down the road? And I know we're talking about now, but like all of a sudden, some miracle happens and we figured out housing in the next decade or so, and by we, I mean writ large, and all of a sudden we have a 40-unit building that can't get occupancy because of poor foresight in this moment. And again, I go back to the ADA. It doesn't. I mean, how can you have only 2 handicap spots for 8 ADA apartments? I don't know. It seems, yeah. I mean, to me, it's a non-starter.
That must have changed, I mean, we have 5 handicap stalls for 40 units, we have 5 buildings. That must have changed since 25 years ago, I think it'd be more, like you said.
I don't know. I would think so, but even if not like an edict by a regulation, it seems to make it be intuitive, or it would make sense to incorporate that, because like what's the sense of having access if you don't have access to getting to the access?
I would like to know a definitive answer on how much pavement can actually go on there using the grasses filter. We need to maximize and capitalize on that.
I can tell you, without running any calculations, and without putting that upflow filter in there, you're not gonna get any more parking stalls with using that grass filtration.
Than the 17 or whatever.
Yes. Or you'd have to go back to that upflow.
What is an upflow thing? It's like an upflow thing.
It's structure that takes in water, just like any other, inlet. And it has a thing built into it where it actually causes turbulence and settles the total suspended solids to the bottom and lets the water go across.
And if they went down deep, they still would need an alley or so to get to that, so then they're probably 60 feet into that grass area.
Correct.
At least.
Regardless of what's decided, did you guys look at the other TID or TIF projects or whatever districts to see if we could have extra, if there was extra money to utilize it, if the council were so to decide to move forward? Is there anywhere that money's sitting?
I don't,
Yes, no? I mean,
if I can answer, ma'am, we're really not up to, we're trying to decide tonight if we're getting stalls, and the cost could come later.
Correct.
Right now, the hurdle is parking.
Tyler, do you guys have a figure on what the additional ongoing costs would be if that lot was bigger? If it was the whole corner? Not the initial upfront cost to do it, what the ongoing additional insurance costs are. Do you have- Operating costs.
We do not have a figure on that, no. We were just factoring in what we're currently showing. But obviously it's an issue, but again, I mean, that's something we could look into.
I would definitely be curious on that. I mean, I think everybody, if we were given the option between getting this much for this much or the whole corner, if it's even feasible, I would want to know that before making a decision.
I agree.
Because I envision that whole corner, if it was blacktopped with curbing like down by the marina,
Would be perfect.
that would be ideal.
I think the issue there is, I mean, setting aside the insurance front, I mean, if 60,000 is not acceptable, I mean, we're talking about twice the parking. So I mean, as much as cost is a real thing here, right? So it's.
Yep. That's the foresight that Casey was alluding to before, though. I mean, I've got to look further into the future. If we're gonna choose to spend something, I don't care if it's $5,000 or 50 or 100. What are we getting, and how much is the cost up front to not have issues down the road?
Sure.
I mean, the whole time that this has been about ongoing costs or operational costs with insurance premiums going up because of it being in the floodplain, whether it's 17 stalls that are attached to an alleyway or if it's the whole darn corner, yeah, there's huge differences up front. But if your insurance is going to go up a negligible amount annually in the grand scheme of things, I would like to know what that is.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to provide that to you and let you know how that affects the debt that we can sports. I mean, that's where it comes into that this is just, it's all circular.
Matt, who's pays to do the alley, like to surface the alley and all that? Is that
We do, specific.
So we're paying for that alley, that's our
Yeah.
cost.
Yes, we put that binder coat of pavement on there, and then there's monies that'll be the final map of the project.
So that's all on us. So it's not like we didn't do our diligence, we already gave them an alley, they needed an alley.
Yep.
We already invested in this.
So funding being the main issue here or hang up, I mean, at the end of the day, there was a motion made by the planning commission to move forward with a minimum of 65 and some trees, I think is
Correct.
what was stated.
Correct.
That was the recommendation to the council, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
And right now we have 41 plus those 2 stalls in
Be
the front.
49 parking stalls.
Right.
Their motion from the plan commission was no less than 65 parking
So
stalls.
we're 16 short unless they pay that extra 60,000.
So where are people gonna park?
On the street,
What are you gonna do in
Visitors.
winter?
they're gonna have to park in public parking, which we already don't have downtown. You know, me and Steve kind of walked through what we have for public parking, not counting, the Lutheran parking lot, because you can't use it on Sundays.
Or Saturday in the evenings.
At what point is there 38 cars parked there every single day and the Lutherans are like, this isn't working out anymore?
And how far does somebody have to commute from the apartment to get to their car?
Well, you would have to commute from,
The parking lot.
The fire station parking lot on the south? I mean, you start looking at all these city lots.
they're pretty filled up already.
Yeah.
So really, you're down to the marina in winter or the Gals parking lot in winter.
Shower service.
What parking lot did you say?
The Gals down by the marina.
Well, and the city's parking issue is whether or not we move forward with this or not. I mean, we've had it, and we're gonna have it.
Well, you have it, but you're
If-
gonna create more of an issue.
Correct. And I think, I mean, myself, I can't speak for everybody else here, but I genuinely want to know, can we pave the whole corner? If so, what's the upfront initial cost and then the ongoing additional cost to you guys? Is it the upfront cost that's killing that right now? That's where my mind is at. At the end of the, we need to make a motion tonight whether or not we're gonna move forward with a minimum of 65 spots or what have you.
Correct.
Then we're gonna have to figure out where the money is coming from.
Not we.
No.
Not we.
That could be part of your motion that they pay for it.
That's Commonwealth. I'm not gonna support the city sticking any money into a parking lot. I can tell you that right now. You're gonna have a no vote from me. Because that's not my responsibility. They own the property. We found that out. They don't let us take, we offered that. We would take the property back. Nope, can't do that. That's their issue. They have to come up with a solution. So if we have a motion for a minimum 65 parking lot, that's what the motion's gonna read. It's not gonna be that the city's gonna fund it. Because then I can tell you,
The
it's a no vote
recommendation
from
is
me.
that, we don't have a motion here for that.
What if we could get the whole thing paved with a small adder from the city? That's where my mind's going, Wayne. Not necessarily paying for the extra 16 or 17, but if it's an extra X amount of dollars to do the whole corner.
But if it's wetlands, don't you need to be able to have that water runoff? You can't just pave that corner, you have all that wetland runoff, these things.
It's not wetland.
Well, you would go back to now adding these $35,000 filters and structures.
So then we're up to 100,000.
Yeah, well, you can't, so you have 1 in 16 cells, you probably have to add like 3 or 4 of them in there.
At the 30,000 a pop.
Yeah,
So that's 120,000
I mean,
plus
it-
60, that's almost 200,000
yeah.
to do that corner.
Mm-hmm.
And we can't even agree on 60,000 right now, which should be its project cost. So you're looking for a motion to agree with the planning commission? That's what I'd like to do. I wanna agree with the planning commission on holding the line to 65 parking stalls. That's what they decided in their meeting. Also the trees that they wanted. And we're not gonna pay anything for them. It's Commonwealth that has to pay for that, to get those additional stalls. That's my motion. I don't know how you wanna word it.
Then I would vote no to the project and make them come back with a plan that shows an additional parking.
Oh, you want a motion like that instead?
If we're not
Simpler.
gonna move forward,
Okay.
then I would ask for a no and make them come back with a plan that shows the additional parking and how it's
Okay.
part of the
I want
project.
that motion. Let's
So
do
your
that.
motion read to not approve the recommendation.
Yeah, let's do that. My motion is to not approve it until they come back with a plan that gives us what we want, according to plan.
So Kevin has a motion on the floor.
I'll second it.
Wayne seconds it.
Wait a
If there's
minute.
any more
Let her read it, she's gotta
Okay.
read it right.
Not approve the planning commission's recommendation. That's as far as my pen went. What was the rest of that?
that is basically it.
And they have to come back
They don't have to do it, I mean,
Well, if they wanna
Request.
come back, they can.
to come back
To planning or RDA, we're,
with a
back to the
plan.
RDA.
RDA.
so would you wanna put that in your motion?
You don't have to
Yeah.
put that in
You
the
don't.
motion, that's
Okay.
where it's got
It's like,
has to
keep
go.
it simple.
Okay.
Okay, so we're requesting to come back with a plan to increase parking?
Don't have to say anything.
Okay.
You're saying no to the plan.
Okay.
You're
We're
not.
saying no
My
to the
motion is
planning
to say no
commission's
to the plan.
recommendation.
Correct.
Yep, yep.
As per the recommendation from planning.
And Wayne did second that, Aaron.
Okay.
We're good?
Yep.
Does anybody else have any more Discussion?
I don't know why I'm not approving it.
What's that?
What the RDA recommended, that we approve the plan but go to 65 spaces.
That's
Well,
not
they're-
what their plan shows, John.
I
Their
know it's
plan
not what
shows
their plan shows,
49.
but it says what we want.
So we're saying, no, we're not accepting
The
that.
motion is to disapprove it.
Right.
That's the motion on the
We
floor
want
right
a
now.
plan that's
You know,
gonna
so
show
what we're
me 65
disapproving
spots.
is the
Planning commission.
planning commission's recommendations, and that's what I don't like. I don't like disapproving the planning commission's recommendation.
I don't know if I understand.
We're voting the whole thing down,
Correct.
It's
Yes.
going back to the RDA.
and not
The plan
approving what the
commission
plan
doesn't have-
commission
The
approved.
plan commission doesn't have any monies to spend in this. They're saying, we approve this with 65 parking stalls. That's what they sent here for the city council and
And
the
I would
mayor
agree with that.
to adopt.
And then it's up to them to say, yes, we'll provide it, or no, we won't.
They're saying, no, we won't.
They have said
Are
no.
you saying that?
Yeah, he said he won't pay for it.
Or redesign the building, that whole complex to give
Well,
them the
then that's a
65
different
parking
issue.
stalls.
Yeah,
Mhm.
whatever their new plan is on them.
Yeah,
Okay.
they have to come back.
The recommendation, chief, is that you approve the plan commission decision, and then ultimately, I think it's clear and cut that we're required to provide at least 65 stalls, right? I think issuing that approval this evening does not state that there's any city dollars being put forward. And then I think at the end of the day, that gives us the opportunity to say yes or no.
Well,
Starting to sound like 65 is not enough to me.
rescind your motion, because then the motion should be made that we accept the planning commission's recommendation for 65 stalls
That's what I wanted to do.
at no additional cost to the city.
Right, that's
Right.
what
That's
I
what I
originally
said.
said.
And throw it back in
That's
their
what I
lap
said.
and see what they're
So I'll
gonna do with it,
rescind that, and that's what I wanted to say originally.
right? Because he's just saying it's gonna be up to them what they wanna do. If they're gonna come back with 65 and we're not gonna fund it, the ball's in their court.
Okay, but so you know, the way that's said then, they're starting to build July 1.
And they won't come to that.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
They're starting to, if you approve it,
Oh, I see.
and they move forward, and in 2 years, or in a year, they're done and people are moving in and they have 49 parking stalls,
No, they have to have 65.
it's
That's
not
their
what the
plan.
recommendation
that
is.
plan.
No.
There's nothing on their plan saying they have to do
On
that.
their plan, but what we require,
This is their plan.
You guys are gonna sign off on the building before we can put anyone in here. You're gonna issue the certificate of occupancy.
Mm-hmm.
So
But that blue section on the
the
plan.
certificate of occupancy will not be granted unless there's 65 stalls, because that's what was approved. So in theory, if we developed it and it had 49 stalls, that's not built to what was approved, and therefore not able to be occupied.
And then what?
They don't get their certificate of occupancy.
So, but you got a building sitting there. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what he's saying.
Yeah, and then they can come back here and say, well, we have 49 parking stalls, we don't have anybody living there because you don't have a certificate of occupancy.
Right, and then that's on us as
And then you're
board.
gonna put
So-
that in front of the council and say, are you gonna give us one?
Let's rescind all my motions and we'll think of a different way to word this.
And I rescind my second.
I'm gonna put in the minutes, a lot of motions were rescinded.
So in theory, if I was building this building and renting it out, I should really have 2 parking stalls per unit. I should have an outdoor parking stall and a garage stall. Technically, that's the way it should really be built, but we don't have the space for that, from my understanding,
you're right.
right?
So
Unless
we're
he
willing to
desi-
go with 1.6.
We're willing to go to 1.6,
Which is minimum, I would
which
think.
is minimum.
We don't have to take any action on the planning commission's motion.
You don't, you can table it.
That doesn't get us anywhere.
Well, maybe it gets Scott the answers he's
What
looking
is it?
for.
What's that?
I would agree with that.
Tyler, are you willing to come back with a redesign and get 65 stalls into your project and pay for the 65 stalls?
I would like for this to be approved with the same plan commission recommendation of that we need to have 65 stalls. We don't have the luxury to table this or redesign it. I mean, I think it comes down to a sheer cost thing. But then we at least have the ball in our court, and if there's a way for us to figure that out, then we're ready to go. I can tell you right now, if the additional stalls is not gonna work, we're not gonna move forward with the project. We're not gonna we're not gonna construct the $12.5 million project and then come to you guys and say, all right, give us a certificate of occupancy, even though we didn't abide by the parking request.
Now, that blue section on your plot plan, you just put that as an alternative, but you didn't really figure out if it's gonna work yet? So you didn't do the engineering and the stuff with that?
All the engineering was done. That's how we figured out the initial need for that second upflow test, and that's where we have a hard bid on it. It's just simply that it's not feasible.
Well, it's not feasible, cause you don't wanna pay for it,
Nonetheless,
correct?
nonetheless, my recommendation for you guys, or ultimately what we're seeking, is approving the plan commission's motion. And then there's 65 stalls abiding by the 1:6 ratio.
And the motion has nothing about who's paying for it.
Well, obviously, we're not.
It should have something about
It
it.
clearly states that the city is not paying for it, if that gives you guys reassurance.
That's
but
what
think
we
that's
could
where-
amend that motion. Marty's not here, but
We
it's
didn't have a
seconder
motion,
I
but
am.
Yeah, we should. put
No,
that
you
in.
can read, the council.
And how about that we approve it, just as the
I would
RDA
approve it.
recommended,
I
but
would
they have
not
to show
approve
us the
it.
65 parking spots, how they're gonna do that before they really get too far on this project. I mean, I know it's gonna take you 30, 60 days to figure that out, but,
Too far on this project, they wanna start in July.
well, that's right,
That's in
all
2
they're gonna
weeks.
do is drill holes and stuff like that.
I would really like to find out the answer to Scott's, what happens if we pave that whole corner, because I sure wouldn't wanna shortchange the project with 65 stalls, because if we okay this tonight, that's what's gonna happen, and we'll never explore that road.
How quickly can you get that answer, Tyler?
I wanted to get with the insurance provider and the civil engineer. To Matt's point, I mean, we're anticipating having a shovel on the ground in July, so I mean, that's,
So what are you thinking, Matt?
and that's where we're at. We gotta move.
Wait till August? Put your shovel on the ground
Do
in
what we
August?
possibly can on our side.
What's one?
Well, this would have to go back, so depending on the design change, this would go back to the RDA. The RDA would make a recommendation to the plan commission. The plan commission would then bring it back in front of the council. Is the process, if it's a no vote tonight. That's the process it would go back.
And they just start 1 or 2 months later because they didn't follow our recommendation that we wanted from the beginning. Correct?
Yeah, we already did last second.
I don't understand why we wouldn't still get our answer.
11th hour, we gotta make a vote.
If we okay 65 stalls, what is the point of them sticking thousands of dollars into figuring out that ratio for you? They won't do it.
Shorted in the end.
I don't believe they'll do it. They're gonna figure out, what does this take to get to here? I'm done.
As long as you get to the 65, I'm happy with that.
I don't, well, that's not my call.
What are you suggesting, Matt?
I would, if the recommendation is 65 isn't enough, or if you get to 65, we're not paying $1, then I would send it back to the drawing board.
The planning commission never did say who would pay for the 65. They just
They
want,
don't have any budget authority
Right.
to say.
Right.
we have to find,
We
if
just
we're
moved
gonna
it
fund
forward.
it, we have to find the money, and I
That
will
is
find it.
correct.
But we shouldn't get in the habit of funding people's projects. That's not good.
This goes back to the RDA. The RDA can find 80 parking stalls, but then finding the money is where it would come back here.
Right. RDA doesn't have any money to spend either.
That is correct.
So if I wanna say no to this, I can make a motion that says motion is to say no to what they have now. And if they would like to come back with something else to show us 65 parking stalls and the trees, like planning's recommended, I could do that.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
Wait.
what's
Now
out
the
there.
question, if 65 is sufficient, there's really no rework that needs to be done, because 65 is already being shoveled. And even if we do go back to the RDA to somehow come up with the dollars, we're coming back to you guys, and it seems like the stance is no. So there again, I would come back to approve what the plan commission suggested, and that there needs to be 65 stalls prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy, and the additional parking needs to be paid for by someone other than the city or any affiliate of the city.
I really
It's
want
not
80 if I can get
ultimately
80.
find the numbers.
So they would look after your proposal.
We're not gonna get
Getting at here is put the ball in our court. We want to get moving here. We have a plan for 65.
I thought you did have a plan for 60.
I can't commit to right
I
now
think
how
they
we're gonna find those dollars, but I don't see the merit in doing an exercise of going to the RDA, going to plan commission, just to come back to city council, have 3 weeks expended just to get a no again.
So I have a question.
I told you 3 weeks ago the city's not gonna pay for it.
Yeah.
No, he's
But
not
Matt
asking
and
for
Steve, when you met with Tyler this morning, you came up with the additional spots to get 65, right? And
No,
that's
they're
what's
on the original,
having the
they're on
flow
the
into the
plan
grass.
as an alternative plan.
It's an alternative.
They're on the plan, but it's not part of the plan. But it's a visual.
This is a negotiation. What do you
Well, I
think
think the concern is legitimate, and that is,
I'm saying?
the concern is legitimate, Tyler, and if we do move forward and say, okay, we're gonna move forward with the recommendation from the planning, and you gotta give us 65, there is my request to see if we can pave the whole corner, kinda goes by the wayside, and you have zero
Interest.
interest in looking into that. That's the concern. If I included that in the motion, is that gonna hold any merit?
I mean, we're happy to explore it, but
How do we
I
get
think
past
there
that?
again is, if the city is hard fast right now that they're gonna spend any dollars, and we're in and on over 60,000, I think your request is gonna be twice that in cost, if not more.
But I think we're talking about the foresight of the future. I understand the city does not wanna pay anything, we want a minimum of 65 spots, we're not paying a dime. But if there was a way for us to ideally get the whole corner paved, and I guess that's a question for my associates here.
And I
If
guess
we were
just
able to get the whole
get
corner
someone's
paved.
Position, you would prefer the recommendation at the 60 stalls where it's our financial responsibility.
Are you thinking, Scott, that we're gonna kick in money to do that whole corner as a city?
Well, if we get our 17 spots, we don't pay a dime. But if it's feasible that we get the whole corner paved and get what we want for long-term, 10, 20 years down the road, and there's a dollar figure attached, we're covering what we said we would, the 65 spots, but for an additional X amount of spots, are we willing to chip in anything?
Why should we? It's not our project.
I can run the calcs real quick and tell you what paving that whole corner would be, Scott. Using, cause you're going back to the upflow manholes.
At the end of the day, I mean, it's germane to your point, yes.
I
34
mean,
of them at 35.
Yeah, we roughly
I wanna
thought
know what it is.
180,000.
I can give you some rough,
If we paved less than half of that spot, we would get 77 stalls according to a drawing that I made. Half, and you'd have a driveway onto Fifth Street and a driveway onto the alley. That was a drawing, I mean, I'm not saying it would work, but that would get you 77. You'd still have some then place for that water to, the sediment to settle, and be treated. I don't know if that's compromised, but now I think we're really getting way off base for what we're supposed to be
Well,
doing
no
here.
matter what, he's blacktopping that whole corner, so Matt can figure that out with the
Yep.
sub-base.
Yeah.
and I'm using their 97,000 because we're putting the upflow filters back in.
Right. You roughly thought about 180,000.
Probably talking $300,000, maybe, or at least two something.
With paving the whole thing and adding now not one upflow filter, you'd probably, to get to the stormwater calcs you would need, you'd have to have 4 of them. You're at, 540,000, over $500,000.
And that's fair.
That's a rough number, just using
Give or
his,
take 100,000 is fairly close.
yeah.
Yep.
I would be happy with 65 parking stalls and getting this project going, because I don't think we gain anything by not doing it at this point. It costs us nothing to move forward. You're guaranteeing us, Sean, that this is gonna be 65 parking spots?
I think it,
We probably need to get something in writing from you guys to that you will provide that,
Motion's a motion.
and then we just move forward and let's go.
I think you're missing the cost
It's not ours.
of the
It's
30.
not ours.
The 30-year problem of parking is our cost.
65 spaces
For-
gives you
for 81 bedrooms.
1.6 spaces per unit. Now, that's not all bad.
It's not all good.
Well, then why didn't they recommend 80 parking spaces or 90 parking spaces?
it
And then
costs-
we can just cross this whole thing out, because nobody's gonna do it.
'Cause
It's
it-
not possible to
Because
do.
it costs money, that's why they didn't do it.
Well, it ain't gonna happen.
I would make a motion that would mirror what Kevin's originally was, saying no to the recommendation.
Just flat out no.
I don't know.
I'll second it.
Motion by Casey, second by Kevin. Any more conversation, questions?
Yeah, I mean, I'll add to, I mean, not to the motion, but to it, like, the
Okay.
point is that it's what you said, 30-year cost. As much as I've been an enthusiastic supporter and cheerleader for this for the entire time, I can't see doing it just to get it done with woefully inadequate parking, regardless of what the cost is. And I'd rather pause on it and try to find a better opportunity or a different opportunity. Not saying that I wouldn't still be interested in working with an alternative plan if it were to come back. That's not what I'm saying, but I don't think it's wise to short us that much in the now time, considering who knows what, how problematic that will be in the short term, midterm, long term.
Anybody else?
Are we gonna, what are the odds of finding a contractor?
We're getting way off
Yeah.
topic
No,
to this
We
conversation.
don't even know what they do,
So yeah, you have your motion
That would
in
come
your.
back, Midge. Yeah.
I'll call the question, which means we gotta vote.
All right. Roll call, Aaron?
All right, so the motion is made by Casey Boer, seconded by Kevin Schmidt, not to recommend the planning commission's recommendation. Correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay, and a roll call on that. Johnson,
Yes.
Dashlet,
Yes.
Wayne Schmidt,
Yes.
Kevin Schmidt,
Yes.
Meverden,
No.
Swedberg,
yes.
Boer,
Yes.
Ortlieb.
No.
Motion carries.
There we have it. Thank you, Tyler.
Good time, guys.
All right. I do have a couple of things after that. Not sure this is the spot, but, some of this is just information. I was reached out by Ben for the KC EDC for a representative to the city. I asked Ken Taylor if he would be that person. I do not know if that needs council approval for that one. Does it? Okay, so then for the KC EDC board, Ken Taylor has agreed to represent the city. I would guess I'd be looking for a motion to let him, on that board.
So second, the motion to that.
Motion by Casey and second by Kevin. Do I need a roll call, Aaron? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried. Also have some opening on the Board of Review. Jake Maring has agreed to be on the Board of Review, so I would be looking for a motion to fill that position on Board of Review with Jake Maring.
So move.
Moved by Scott, second by Lee. All in favor?
Okay.
Opposed? Joint Review Board, there are two openings. Scott was on it. Scott has agreed to stay on it, and I would also go on it to fill those two positions. Motion could be for both of us unless you want to split them apart. But the Joint Review Board, for myself and Scott Meverden.
Is it two elected officials that sit on there?
I think it was the mayor.
It's the mayor or
Virginia
an
was on it.
appointee.
What's that?
It's the mayor and it can be the mayor. Or
Right.
the mayor can appoint somebody in their place.
Right.
And then the spot that Scott would be taking is an optional spot. It just needs to be somebody that lives in the community.
So even though he's elected, it's okay, okay.
Yeah.
Then I'll make the motion to appoint the mayor and Scott to the joint board of review.
Second.
Motion by Wayne, second by Casey. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Also, Virginia was on, was a county board supervisor. They're reaching out, looking for recommendations, so I'm just putting that out there if somebody's interested. I wasn't sure, she was either in District 16 or 17, I'm not positive, I couldn't find the map.
That's it, he appoints, Mr. Olson will appoint.
You
But
have
he's
to
looking for a name
apply,
from
I
you?
believe, and then they will,
You have to
they
write a
will
letter
pick
of interest.
person, I don't pick it,
Letter of
but it's
interest.
just to let you know that they're
If you're
looking.
interested in applying.
Yes.
More or less,
Well, the county board makes that decision.
that is
Correct,
Correct.
correct.
City has nothing
They
to
just
do with
reached
it.
out
Right.
for us
Yeah.
to mention,
Somebody
Okay.
from the Algoma area, I think.
Has
Yeah.
to be in that,
in that
in
district,
that district.
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
And
Just
then-
trying to nail down which district it is.
It's 16 or 17, I think. So we'll have to figure that out. And then the last one is the Tourism and Promotion Committee is still very much up in arms, maybe more now than ever. There's a lot going on. I did reach out, found there's, the chamber is very upset because they're doing all the work that Lee would have done, and now they would like to be compensated for the work. I need to put this commission back together so that we can lay out all the problems that are there, so that we can then solve those problems. I reached out two different ways, and Sunday afternoon, I had a 2.5-hour meeting with Lee Hosh, who would agree to go back on that commission. He will do all of the things that he was supposed to do, bring it back up to speed, call the meeting, and then we would decide where it goes from there. But I need the support of this council to put him back there, to put the commission back together so that we can fix the problem and stop spinning our wheels.
The problem is created by Lee's unwillingness to do the things that we had budgeted to do, right? Like this, the appointment to it is for figuring going forward, right? And so he decides not to do these things that he's done over and over and over, and then says, here's the solution, like, hey, if you let me in, then I will do these again. So, I mean, like, I'll resume the duties that we had budgeted for,
Yes.
that he had committed generally to do in the past anyways, it would seem. Again, it seems untoward to, it's like holding that.
He would do all of the things that you have already decided are gonna be done this year. There's no decision-making. The decision-making would be to take all the problems that have come to surface now and work through them by bringing the commission together and having a meeting and getting through it. If you don't want Lee on there next year, then you get rid of him. If you don't want him on there maybe in the middle of this year, I think we could get rid of him. But right now, it's very contentious. We're being threatened with charges from the chamber. And I just need to get it together so I can fix it and move it forward.
What problems have occurred? I thought we were just picking one person to take the spot.
Well, apparently Lee does a boatload of things throughout the summer that nobody knew about. And now they are falling on Rosemary, who is a commission member, but is doing all this on chamber time, so they want to be paid for it.
Well,
I have to bring it together, get it back whole to fix it.
I understand your issue. My issue was that they don't meet all summer. I mean, if you can, if
He
they're
has-
willing to solve that problem,
he
then
has
I don't have
agreed
a
to meet.
problem who sits on
Yeah,
it, but
on our 2.5 hour meeting, he has agreed to bring it back so that there's not any issues, the immediate issues, and then open this up, have a meeting with all of those members and talk this through. And whatever the solutions are, that's what the solutions are. But as of right now, we have nobody doing the commission work, nobody.
But what was he doing, I guess? What are
Putting out ads, sending in, making ads, taking pictures. I have a list, unfortunately, I don't have the email from Rosemary here.
and I don't know exactly what duties
Yes.
the chairman has on there, but as far as the chamber, you know, they're complaining they want to get paid, but Rosemary also does a little moonlighting on the side 2 days a week where she's got a part-time job, so I don't go along with that idea that Rosemary's being swamped and all this.
Yeah, and I'm not in favor of paying them, I
Yeah,
wasn't saying that, but
no.
that's where we're at. I did reach out to Casey
so
to
what are
help
you-
me with this, but
What are you saying?
today I haven't gotten a
You're
reply.
bringing his
Right,
name
my
forward?
phone has been messed up. I talked to Matt this morning about
Okay.
it. I think it's an interesting, you bring it up tonight, just, you know.
I-
Right, I get it, and there's no other means to have communicated with me if that is in fact the sticking point, right? Like, I brought it to you, but then you didn't address it.
I'm-
So now you're trying to bring a recommendation to it, and it's a kind of a convoluted recommendation. Like to get back the old commission in order to.
I am bringing it to the council
Sure.
tonight
Under your
To
mayor's appointments, which you
correct.
have the right to do.
to
So-
solve this
Sure.
problem.
So you're saying you're recommending to the council that we put,
Lee back
Lee
on,
Oz
whether
back
it be
on.
short-term, long-term, I need to bring it together to fix the problem.
Did anybody else have an interest?
No.
How about if we bring them back for 6 months? Let's solve the problem.
Yeah,
Get it done, and
I
then
ju- I
6
wanna solve
months
the
from now, we
problem.
have
I
more
just
time
wanna
to
get
find
through it.
somebody.
those are annual appointments, so
Right.
Yeah, you
put them
can't-
back on, and my concern is, are they gonna meet throughout the summer? That was my whole concern, because you cannot have a committee or a commission or whatever and only meet in the winter. There's too many months and too much stuff that goes on, sorry.
Why don't they just have a meeting with or without a person? They can still have a meeting.
Right, that's what my question
The-
is.
Nobody's called a meeting. Rosemary's called, I have a bill to send you. Nobody's called a meeting and said, we need to sit down and talk.
Correct. So what I'm trying to do is not just have a meeting, I'm trying to fix the problem. Trying to get Lee to put his ads in, to do all the stuff that Lee did, so that we're back to zero, and then we can breathe and fix the problem.
We would have a quorum. We have the ability to hold an official meeting of the commission, but is there, right. So, I mean, fix the issues without knowing exactly every
So how
every
does Lee
particular
not being
issue.
there fix your issues?
How, well, one, it helps, uncover
It helps you
all
to
the-
get your way.
Well, that's an interesting way of putting it, Steve.
It's exactly the way of putting it. I want to fix this problem, and I am very disappointed that this council fights me every step of the way and lets me flounder here, when the simple solution is to put Lee back there and get this fixed.
I'm sorry you feel disappointed.
I am very disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, imagine, I mean, it's fine. This is twice now. You've impugned my character, and I don't appreciate it at all. Once you accuse me of being ageist, and this time you're saying it's self-motivated, right? How does it fix the problem? Well, not what is the problem, right? You're saying there's a problem. How about we call the commission together?
I'm trying to do that.
And we can do that without Lee. Call the commission together so we can all find out what the problems are, what the issues are, and then perhaps the step forward, the prudent step forward would be to do what you're saying.
I'm looking for a motion. You can deny it if you like.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by John.
What's the motion?
to
Yeah, make
put-
your motion, John.
And we put Lee on for 6 months.
Can't do 6 months.
Why not?
It's a one-year-
We can do
it's a
whatever
one-year-
the hell we want.
Well, then you're gonna rewrite the ordinance,
You have
but
to
it's a
rewrite
one-year
the
appointment, so then we'd have to,
From where? From when?
Well, from the appointments in April,
yeah.
it's an annual thing. It's an annual thing. The mayor makes those appointments, the council approves them. That's one of the few committees where it's only an annual appointment. The other ones are 2 years, 3 years,
Yeah.
whatever.
Every commissioner
Yeah.
on the TNP is annual.
Yeah.
And they could still have a meeting, right? You guys could have a meeting.
Yeah.
Why
solve
didn't you
your
call a
problems
meeting?
tomorrow.
You represent the council on there. Why didn't you call a meeting?
I didn't realize the particulars of the distress until I saw I got a message from Rosemary, and I had talked to Matt this morning briefly.
But I mean, you've been on that committee, right? For how?
Commission,
Or
right.
commission,
Yeah.
or whatever, your tourism promotion, for 2 terms.
Can I ask you, Casey?
Yeah.
You said, why didn't I reach out to you? You got a message from Rosemary and you reached out to Matt.
I said, well, no, I talked to Matt this morning by chance, and then I happened to see the message that I got from Rosemary on Friday. I had a phone issue, right? And you're
Okay.
saying you didn't return, and there's no opportunity at all that you couldn't talk to anybody who might be able to get in touch with me, right?
Is
Like,
that
but,
my job?
well, I don't know, but you're using that as an example here.
Is there a second to his motion?
No.
No, because the motion is to appoint Lee Hosh for 6 months, and
Yeah,
then
he can't
we
do that.
are saying he can't do that, and he's saying he can do that,
It
so.
would be up to the discretion of the commission.
Up to you guys.
Well, he's got it from now until the end of next April, so. But if you look in the ordinance, it's a 1-year appointment.
From April, right?
Right.
So are you willing to change your motion, or are you saying for 6 months? Okay, so John Ortlieb has made an motion to appoint Lee Hosh to the Tourism and Planning Commission for 6 months. Is there a second?
I will second it. Now we can vote on
Roll call, Eric.
You're violating your ordinance.
it. I understand, but we can vote it down and then it's.
Then why would you second it if you're violating the ordinance?
Yeah.
You're sitting here, Robert's Rules of Order, everything else, and you've got an ordinance. You can't make a motion to put somebody on for 6 months.
Then you'd have to rewrite that ordinance.
And we're not gonna sit here and rewrite an ordinance for tourism and promotion. If you wanna put Lee on, make the motion to put Lee Hosh on, and then somebody second it, and we'll vote on it. You can't change the ordinance, you know that, Amy.
Yes, just wanted to move along.
Well, I
Can we-
understand we wanna move along.
John, would you like, can we amend your motion to make it for 1 year, remove the 6 months
Well,
and make it
from
1 year?
April, so he would
From
have
April to April,
9 months now.
Yes.
correct.
That he would do
As
it.
the maker of the motion, are you,
Yes, I'll move it to
would you amend it?
till next April. And he can resign at any time that he feels.
Okay. The motion has been amended to appoint Lee Hosh to Tourism and Promotion Commission until the term is up in April 2025. Does that work? And that has been seconded by Amy?
Correct.
Okay, and you'd like a roll call on that?
Please.
Boer,
No.
Ortlieb,
Yes.
Kevin Schmidt,
No.
Dashlet,
No.
Johnson,
No.
Swedberg,
Yes.
Meverden,
Yes.
Wayne Schmidt.
Yes.
I think about that for a minute, right?
It's 4-4. Mayor, your vote ties it.
I would vote yes. And I will make sure that they call a meeting and try to straighten it out. Next items, agenda items for next meeting, please get them to Aaron. Next meeting date, Monday, July 1st at 5 p.m. And I would be looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Kevin, second by Scott. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Phew.